Hi there folks, welcome back to the Ever and Only Fishing Channel. I hope you're doing really well and welcome to the first ever Review Tuesday.
Review Tuesday.
It kind of rhymes a bit. We're doing some reviews, we're doing them on Tuesdays. I think it makes sense. So welcome to Review Tuesday.
Why are you saying it like that?
I feel like I've got to say it like that because other
Review
people might not get it. I think it sounds great. Anyway, right, we're going to crack straight on. So first off, thank you very much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because that way you'll be subscribed to the whole channel, including Review Tuesday. Was that better? And you'll see all the stuff that's coming up if you're already subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much and welcome back. IB, you put a post out on the Instagram a few weeks ago asking people what they wanted us to review, and there was a product that just totally stood out.
Literally, I'm not kidding, more than probably 97% of replies that I had.
That's very accurate. More than 97.
Because honestly, out of about 40 different messages, there was can't be more than 5 that said different product.
Really?
So I don't know what the percentage would be. I'm not great at math, but I'll stick with 97%.
97% sounds absolutely spot on. IB, what was the product?
And it was the Vision Nymphomaniac.
So what did we do?
We got Vision Nymphomaniac to review.
There it is. So yeah.
And we have been putting it through tests and tests and tests with everything.
And we've had this for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's been really, really cool to get out, use a new piece of kit. It's the buzz rod in the fly fishing industry at the moment.
Someone actually commented on my post recently when I posted on Instagram with a grayling and a Vision rod across the net, and someone said it's the it product that everyone is like a must-have product that everyone talks about.
Yeah, well, Vision have created this brand all of a sudden, this Nymphomaniac brand that just seems to be taking the whole of Europe by storm, and we wanted to make sure that we could share with you guys what we thought of what is kind of the prestige product in that brand. So we got a hold of the 4-piece 10-foot 3-weight, and as IB says, we've put it through its paces over the last few weeks, and in this video we're going to tell you exactly what we thought of the Vision Nymphomaniac 10-foot 3-weight. Right, so first things first, that's how it comes. Round Cordura tube, it's pretty solid. All the information it needs on it, information at the top.
I actually like the inside bit. I do think it's very secure.
Yep, so rather than having a rod bag, it is just a partition tube. So I'm going to say the butt section out of the tube first because there's a lot going on the butt section in the Nymphomaniac.
It's my favourite section of the rod, to be honest.
Fairly minimal in terms of the logo and stuff there, the bright green that they use on all Nymphomaniac stuff. It's a half Wells handle, but it's really slim. It's a lovely slim handle actually. I think we both talked about this. I don't like having a chunky handle on a Nymphing rod, and this definitely isn't. There's a nice minimal machined aluminium reel seat there, single locking ring, and a cork insert. I was a little bit surprised that this isn't a down locking reel seat. Given that it's being marketed as a Nymphing specific rod, I was a little bit surprised that this one isn't down locking. Actually, the 11-footer that they do is.
But I wonder what the reasons behind it.
Yeah, I expected that to be a down locker. I think most people, it's generally accepted now that on a modern style Nymphing rod, on a Euro Nymphing rod, you would have a reel seat that locks that way because it puts the reel further towards the back of the rod. It makes it easy to balance without having a heavy reel. Don't get me wrong, it's not the end of the world. I was just a surprise, that's all. As I say, they do it on the 11-footer, so they've clearly thought about that. Maybe it's not necessary on this. It's not a tip-heavy rod, as we found, so maybe it's not massively necessary. Little funky green stripe on the handle that I must admit, for a couple of days, I didn't really understand what it was about. But there are a few more funky stripes along the rod, and starting from there, you get a measurement for 20 centimetres, 30 centimetres, 40 centimetres, and 50 centimetres. Which you've been using quite a lot.
It's the best thing, honestly, to the point where I had to copy that and do it with some nail varnish on my own nymphing rod because I measure my nymphing setup so accurately. I will literally do it, and before I used to have to tape a tape measure out, lay that down, and then measure it that way that it's 50 centimeters, so I know what time I drop it, etc. But with this, it will honestly completely changed my life.
So give us a quick insight into your nymphing setup, 2-fly setup at the moment. How are you spacing them?
Yeah, so I would have, from where I'm going fishing, I would have my indicator, I would have about 5 feet going to my dropper, and then from my dropper, the dropper would be probably about 3 maximum 4 inches long.
So about 10 centimetres.
Yeah.
So you could measure that from there.
Yeah,
to
I
there,
could measure it there, and then I would have 50 centimeters of my to the point fly, which is exactly that. Which honestly has been so handy.
I've been watching you measure those out. Actually, that's been pretty cool.
It's really, yeah, because all I'm gonna do is I will like take my tippet spool and I will just hold it there and I will reel it off the tippet to measure it, like so it's just above 50 centimeters. Because I use a water knot, obviously I need a little bit for the tag, but it's been so brilliant not having to faff around with measuring tapes, because I'm not good at centimeters or inches. I just can't tell. To me, 10 and 50 looks exact. I have no clue. So this has been very, very helpful actually.
Also a little keeper ring on there. I really like having a keeper ring. I'm surprised how many modern rods don't have one, but it is there. If you want to use it, great. If not, it's hardly. It's not like it's in the way. The cork, actually, the quality of the cork's pretty good. There's a little bit of filler in there, but you know, it's held up pretty nicely. There's nothing falling out of it. It's doing pretty well. A little bit of composite at the rod end, a little bit of composite at the butt end, just to avoid anything chipping off and stuff like that. It's a very functional section of fishing rod, that is. There's a lot going on there. It's been pretty well thought out, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah. It's definitely been very well thought out.
It's also matte black. The whole of the rod is matte black, and I think that'll be something that modern nymphing rods, it's going to become more common to get a matte finish, because we're fishing at quite close range. You don't particularly want a big glossy rod waving over your fish.
Do you believe in that?
I believe in marginal gains, and I think there possibly is. Well, you could be right. It would be on my mind if it wasn't like that. I actually like the fact that it's matte.
I like
Yeah.
how cool it looks.
Yeah.
I like everything matte.
It's a pretty funky looking rod, isn't it? Won't show you the other two sections, but the tip section we're just going to have a very quick look at, because there's something on here that stands out. So
My second favourite section.
So the guides, there's a single line stripper guide, then it's all single legs until the second from last, where there's a snake. And I must admit, I looked at that, I was like, someone's done a bad. Looked like a Friday job, didn't it? But actually, having spoken to the guys at Vision, they said that the reason for that is because it helps avoid tangles during casting and during fishing. Apparently, if you go single legs right the way through, it's more likely to wrap around the tip. And particularly when we're using the monofilament French leaders, which is what you and I use, it can be a bit of pain, can't it? Wraparounds. But actually, during the time that I fished with this, I had very few.
Yeah, very
tip
few.
wraps.
To be fair, the only tip wraps I had is if I like had my rod down while reeling in or
Yeah.
trying to put the fish back or anything like that. But generally, just casting, I can't say I had a wrap.
There must be
around.
something in it. It looks a bit weird, but there must be something in it. So put together, it's a lovely light rod in the hand. Actually, Vision state the weight of the rod at 71 grams, which actually looks about right. I measured it very roughly on our kitchen scales at 75, but I think they're probably not quite as accurate. Which actually puts it at nearly 20 grams lighter.
Makes me wonder about my baking, that does. Have I been making pancakes the wrong way?
Which actually puts it nearly 20 grams lighter than the Brook 10'2" that we've been using for a very long time.
But actually, that's the first thing that I said when I used the rod. I was like, oh my god, it's so much lighter.
See, I hadn't felt as much of a difference, but I think it's because that Brook outfit is so well balanced. That rod will balance so well that you don't really notice the difference. But it is considerably lighter. I guess that's where your money's going. It's probably slightly higher quality carbons and stuff like that. But all of this stuff is irrelevant if it doesn't fish very well. And IB, tell us about your experiences fishing the Nymphomaniac 10'3" weight. How was it?
I think one way to describe it, that would be the best way to describe it, would be with one word: sensitive. It is a very lovely, sensitive rod. I don't know how. Have you found it as quite sensitive?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So spent quite a lot of time with that. I actually used the Nymphomaniac on our challenge on the Derwent.
Yes, you did. I was very angry about that.
Yeah, definitely very sensitive. Don't get me wrong, I was using a 5.5mm 0.5 for most of that, so you generally get a pretty good feel for it. I've used it a couple of other times as well. Actually, I've guided with it by accident. I picked up the wrong rod and a client ended up using it too.
The wrong rod.
And yeah, it is a remarkably sensitive piece of kit. It's
to the point where sorry to interrupt you, to the point where I found myself, especially if I'm using only a 2-fly rig and I'm not casting 5mm beads, I would pick up the tiniest of little fish, where perhaps beforehand I wouldn't necessarily do. Like, you literally can't feel even the tiniest of bumps and pick them up.
The huge amount of feel, I think partly down to the nice minimal construction of it. It's a very, very fine rod. We've just measured the two tip sections to 12 grams in total. so incredibly fine, incredibly delicate. Vision described it as fast medium. I didn't think it was particularly fast. I thought it was quite a gentle action rod actually. I was surprised how soft it was for a 3-weight. I never felt like I was going to pull hooks out with this.
No,
I never once.
no.
As you say, we generally use 2-weights. I prefer the 2-weight because generally it's just a softer rod. And you guys have seen we're not catching absolutely huge ginormous fish over here
Well,
in the
apart
UK.
from
Generally,
me.
apart from you catch all the giant fish. But I never felt like this was too much. In fact, if someone had have covered up the butt section and said, what weight's that rod?
You wouldn't have.
I'd have said it's a 2-weight because it is incredibly delicate.
To which point it makes me curious how a 2-weight would be.
Can you imagine how sensitive a 2-weight version of this would be? And a rumour has it that might be something that could possibly be coming in the future.
Don't you? You are turning me on right now. Don't do that. No, it is lovely. The only thing I will say it's missing, and I think we talked about that, a few more guides at the start of the butt section.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So again, a little bit of a surprise straight out the tube. I think as we progress with the kit for the modern European nymphing styles, I think it's generally accepted that you'd quite like a guide a bit lower down the rod. So when you've shot a bit of French leader or shot some of your shooting mono or some of your bugging braid or something, having to reach up here to then get hold of it to get in contact with your indicator can be a bit of a fuss.
Especially for me that I have no feeling in
Well,
my
yeah,
left arm,
you
so it's a bit more difficult.
got dodgy left hand, haven't you? And if it's windy, or I tell you what, it was a problem when it was wet because monofilament leaders, if it's cold and wet, I find they have more memory,
Yeah.
so they're a bit more curly and they stick. So there were times when I found myself kind of, where's the indicator? Don't get me wrong, that is as much user error as anything else. You shouldn't be shooting that much line that you're not shooting it all. And if you're shooting it all, you don't even have to look because you know where it is. It's just there, and you know, as long as it's underneath your hand, you're straight in touch with it. But I was a little bit surprised that there wasn't a guide down there. I think I know why, and I think it's probably why most of the lower and mid-range nymphing rods don't have one there. The problem is if you start putting a guide there, which is probably where you'd want it on a specific European style nymphing rod, that then makes it a lot harder to cast a fly line with. And my feeling is at some point there'll have been a meeting at Vision where someone would have said we ought to put a guide down near the bottom, and someone would have said, well, hang on a minute, that's going to make it hard to cast a fly line with, which means we'll probably sell a few less. And they went, well, let's not do that. So on the subject of fly line, we did actually go out and use this with a fly line on the Derbyshire White at the start of the grading season, didn't we?
Yes, I'd actually went a bit too many times and did that because I enjoyed it so much. And again, actually, I did something very cool. I used the French leader on there as well with the rod.
You did, didn't you?
Where you can't wait. And again, everything was absolutely spot on. There was no issue at all. If anything, I really liked casting the fly line with it.
And in terms of picking the fly line up, I will say we were using a 4-weight line. It is a 3-weight one. I haven't actually got a 3-weight fly line. I don't own one. So we were using a nice light 4-weight line. It's bang on the AFTM rating. It picked it up really well at short to medium ranges, as you'd expect with it being slightly overlined. At the slightly longer ranges, it was a little bit harder to pick fly line up off the surface of the water, but not a whole lot. We were casting reasonably heavy flies at times and it picked those up. We've got a big buoyant indicator, a big foam indicator. And again, it dealt with that okay. It would carry the line absolutely fine. It's not designed for doing that. I think it's fair enough.
But I also think that if you only had one rod and if you had to do it, I think you could still be. I think you would be still able to do it.
Well, again, that's the thing. I guess it's versatile because it hasn't got that butt guide up there. We were able to use it for doing that. We also both used it to cast dry flies, didn't we? And it dealt absolutely well. I found it dealt absolutely perfectly fine with that. How about you?
This rod is responsible for my favourite thing that happened this year. I was casting a dry fly with my French leader and I caught a fish in it. It wasn't a fly line, it was a French leader rod, and I had a dry fly on it and I had a fish on it, a grayling as well. Yeah, I like this rod way too much, which is sad.
You got quite attached to this one, didn't you?
I did, got quite attached to it.
Give me 3 things that you really like about the rod.
Okay, so number one, first, my favorite thing would be the butt section, so the measurements, because I think that's the most helpful thing for me ever. Second thing that I really liked was the sensitivity of it. I think it's very sensitive. I do believe it helped me to pick up a lot more fish. And I think the third thing that I would say is my favorite is how versatile it is. I can go and use the duo. I could use a dry fly if I had to. I could use a French leader, and I could do it all in one rod.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're 3 really good things. If I was going to go for 3 things, I'd go for the shape of the handle. I think that's a very, very cleverly shaped handle. I like how thin it is. I really like the matte finish. And I do think that's something we're going to see on more nymphing rods going forward. And I really, really like the fact that even though it's a slightly heavier rod than I've been using before, I never felt like I was going to pull the hook. So you know what it's like grayling fishing. You can just nick one of those fish just on the edge of the scissors or just on the front of the mouth, and if that rod's too stiff, you're going to pump them off. It's as simple as that. I can't remember bumping many off with this thing in 4 or 5 sessions of using it. I can't remember bumping many off, and that is credit to just how delicate the tip of this rod is, because we've been lucky enough to catch quite a few fish.
Yeah, and even today I've been fishing a French leader with the rod, and actually I was really surprised, but I was trying to play grayling in a really fast, shallow water, and you can see the rod tip, how it balances the grayling when it's trying to fight against the current. It was really nice to see. What's the price?
So yeah, it's not a cheap fly fishing rod, we need to say that, at £339 retail or 320? 330 something retail. It is not a cheap fishing rod, but you're talking about a rod here that you're going to get a huge amount of use out. To give you an idea, the French leader rod is the only rod that goes with me every single day of the year if I'm guiding on a water where I'm allowed to nymph. The dry fly wouldn't go out with me in the dead of winter, the indicator rod wouldn't go out with me in the heat of summer, but the French leader goes every single day. It is the best way to catch fish on nymphs out of a river. I think everyone's pretty much agreed with that now. So yeah, it's a lot of money. £300 plus for a rod is a lot of money. Do I think it's worth it? Actually, yeah, I do. I'd have absolutely no problem using this as my everyday nymphing rod. I think that's a very, very good tool.
I do think if you can't afford it, don't stress about it. You can find good quality, cheaper rods. But if you can afford it, have a play.
Absolutely agree with IB. If you really like fishing the French leader, if it's something you enjoy doing, this is a bloody good rod. Let's be honest, it's a really good rod.
Which is really sad.
We've got to send it back now, but I think we both got very attached to it. Okay, IB, so give us marks out of 50 for the Vision Nymphomaniac 10-foot 3-weight.
With 50 being perfect and
0 being a terrible, terrible, terrible fishing rod that should never have been made.
I will give a very solid 43.
Wow, 43 is a really good score. Based on the stuff you talked about, based on fixtures and fittings and stuff like that.
To be honest, I'm just fancy this rod. I look at it, I look at the centimetre markings, and it gives me butterflies in my stomach. I know. Don't rub it in my face.
So I'm going to go with you there actually. I'm going to give this a 40 out of 50. I think it's a very, very good fishing rod. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit surprised by this. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as good as it was.
You were sceptical, weren't you?
I was, just because of the neon my worry was it was going to end up being a bit gimmicky. And probably, yeah, I was worried it was going to be a bit gimmicky and not be the quality of fishing rod that all the branding and the funkiness makes it out to be, but actually I was wrong, and it is a very, very good nymphing rod. Vision Nymphomaniac 10-foot 3-weight. We've just given it 83 out of 100. That is not bad at all.
It's not bad at all.
On that note, if you guys fancy picking up a Vision Nymphomaniac 10-foot 3-weight or any of the other rods in the range, you'll find more information in the description box below. You'll also find some links, hopefully, where you guys can go and buy one if you want. Anything that you buy out of the description box.
Stop whacking on my face.
Anything you buy out of the description box will be an affiliate link from which we get a little bit of the percentage of the sale. It doesn't cost you any more, it just means that eBay and Amazon don't get any more money, which is a good thing. Ivy, do you want to wrap this one up?
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna go cuddle up with for the last night with, I wanted to say my rod, it's not my rod. I'm gonna go do some cuddling up, then some crying. Oh, one thing I will say, how cool is this? I like the little bug action on the tube.
You like a bit of bug action?
I do. So yeah, no, I really like it. I wish it wasn't going away from me, but still have my rod, I can still catch fish, so all is good in the world.
Guys, thank you very much for watching this one, the first of the Review Tuesdays. I'm getting better at that, aren't I?
No. Please comment in the comment section and tell him to stop doing that.
Let us know what you thought of the review. Let us know your thoughts of the rod if you've already got one. Let us know if you've been thinking of buying one, if this has changed your mind or not. All we need to say is thank you very much to these people.
Thank you very much for watching. We will see you guys in the next video.
Take care, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Rod.
No.
It's gone.